Hello, everybody. It is I, Brennan Kennedy. We will be doing the Brennan Kennedy show again today, as currently Rick Walker is still not feeling well, but he's doing okay. I have checked in on him, and everything is well. But however, for today's show, I have brought a special contributor, and we have on here Mr. Fisher with the Fisher Files. Am I okay to use your full name, sir?
Absolutely.
All right, cool. We have Thomas Fisher here, and he'll be helping me out tonight. So definitely, thanks for bearing with us, Maverick family. Well, we're currently working through some things here until Rick Walker is better. So definitely send him your prayers, and he's gonna be all right though. So before we start delving into our topics here today, Mr. Fisher, why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself, plug yourself in, and where people can find you and that sort of thing?
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to meet you again. And my name is Thomas Fisher. Born and raised really with the stints around the country, but I'm from Sarnia, Ontario, and I spent majority of my adult life has been in business development, sales management. I did work for a business group, one of the largest lobby group organizations in the country for small business. So my heart is, I wear my heart and sleeve with small and independent business. And when all this nonsense happened, I was a small business owner myself, still am today. And because of my background with all the politics and small business and on corporate taxation, capital gains taxation, fair legislation around rules and regulations, red tape awareness, etc. I just felt compelled to get into this lane of talking about what's going on in the world and how it's affecting me and all of the people that I know, small business and also just overall economics in general, but also the freedoms and liberties that we see eroding away on a daily basis and history is repeating itself. So here I am. My name is Thomas Fisher. The Fisher Files is a program, a platform we're launching. It's called The Fisher Files Exposing the Truth. We're just in the process of launching the website. I'm on Twitter at The Fisher Files, and I'm also on Facebook. I'm under my name, Thomas Fisher, and I'm on LinkedIn as well. So.
Well, definitely, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight and offering an opportunity to come and talk about some of the disturbing headlines I found today. And yeah, we also spent a little bit of time together in a live stream.
We did. And I should say, Brandon, the Fisher Files at Rumble and the Fisher Files on YouTube as well. I keep forgetting those two for some reason.
Definitely check out those places, people. Mr. Fisher, I'm familiar with some of his work, and I really appreciate the place you come from when you speak out about these issues. So you're definitely what we would call on this channel here. You're a true maverick. So keep up the good work.
I like that title. I take it and wear it proudly.
Yeah. So we have a couple of things going on today. And one of the first one of those items was we have Chrystia Freeland. Oh, we were going to talk a little bit about. So we had what was the program that we were on today? If you want to highlight that a little bit.
Yeah, we call it Momentum Mondays. There's a panel of four of us. There's myself, Brandon McCaskill is Brando on the go, Jeff McCoy, the real Jeff McCoy, and Brooke Day. And we decided that we wanted to have a forum to do deep dives into topics today and try and awaken the people that feel the need to sort of start questioning what's going on and pointing them in the right direction in terms of where to find information and what to do with it. And my big word, I guess my buzzword right now is activation. I really want to activate as many people globally, not just in micro, I mean globally, as I can. I'm just one person, and who am I? But the reality is we all can make it. We all can activate. We all can make that difference because there are more of us than there are of them. I keep saying that over and over again. And the them is what we wanted you to find out. Who are they?
That is amazing. Well, I was really happy to be a part of that live stream today and get out there and flex my brain muscles in other places. We're also about that on this channel. We want to bring awareness. We want to bring critical thinking skills to people, and we want to be able to help walk them through a lot of the information out there. And as the host of the show says, usually Rick Walker, we are in an information war.
We are.
We're under
We
attack.
are friend Alex Jones. There's a war out for your mind. The information war is real.
Yes, and it's very true. And we need to pay attention to what's going on out there, and we need to have the ability to think critically about all these things, and not only that, when you have a public that's well informed, then you have the ability to make changes where we need to in this political system, because right now they want the political system, I feel, to be reserved only for the elite.
100%.
They don't want regular people like us. Yeah, I saw Brando on the go. Yeah, we have some cross listeners, it looks like.
Awesome.
What was I saying there? In either case, when you have well-informed people going into politics, then that's going to make changes all the way. So on this show, what we usually do is we bring up different stories and different videos and things of that nature, and we just offer kind of like our commentary on them. And the first story of the day today is going to be Chrystia Freeland.
One of my favorite people to talk about.
Yeah. So Chrystia Freeland had a press conference today about budgetary updates. About what? I wouldn't be able to tell you because the whole thing was in French. But something interesting happened today where she was heckled. So I think it's worth taking a look at and having a discussion, because there's so many avenues that go with this story. You could take it so many places.
The queen of word salad. She is the queen of word salad.
Absolutely. She does. She brings me much concern for my country. But let's see here. We're going to let this roll and just make sure everything's working correctly, because I'm the producer here at the same time. And all right, we'll let it roll.
You are a warmonger? $500 million in weapons to Ukraine to fight wars. You have the Third World War with Russia? Are you a warmonger? Why didn't you support the Minsk Accord?
Nice.
Why didn't you support a negotiated settlement? Why didn't you support the Minsk Accord?
Oh, okay.
Why didn't you support NATO expansion?
Il y a quelques semaines, nous avons signé une
Well, and then she goes
entente
to
avec
French.
l'Ontario pour des services d'apprentissage et de garde de jeunes enfants.
So, interestingly enough, one sec, got to get that audio out of my ear. Interestingly enough, this was also on CPAC. You know, it's where our public service, usually all the politicians put all of their messages and stuff like that up on there. CPAC cut that out. It froze the story entirely, and they said, "Oh, we're having technical difficulties."
That's CNN's trick, isn't it?
Yeah, basically. So, people on this show know my opinion quite thoroughly about the war in Ukraine and everything like that. Well, as far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of wrongdoing that has been committed by our side. So we're basically treating the Ukraine like this chessboard, and it's all about putting Western-backed people or otherwise into it, and that sort of thing. I think the whole thing is a mess. I think this is a mess that the United States created, and Canada, and Chrystia Freeland.
It's a mess NATO created.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all the triggers are being pulled by the United States on this. especially when you look at the color revolutions that they've had over there.
100%.
I can't get my brain over how the narrative used to be that there is far right Nazis that exist in Ukraine, and then overnight that narrative disappeared, and there's no Nazis in Ukraine. President
And now you can't find the clip where Zelensky's being interviewed, and he admits that there's a faction of Nazis in his own military. Like, he admits that. And if you go back and look at pictures, there's actually pictures of him wearing that symbol.
Yes.
And again, why are we talking about Ukraine so much? What is it all about? I was beginning to talk about that before, before we went on air. There's a reason Obama was at the White House. It's a dog whistle for the people that are scared, right? He's like there saying, calm down. I got this. We got you. Don't worry. No one's going to find out how much money you put into Metabiota. No one's going to find out how much money you put into Burisma. Don't worry. We're not going to get all of you outed. It's going to be okay. And poor Biden's walking around like a lost. He doesn't even know where he is, and no one's helping him. And they did that on purpose. They wanted the world to see who's in charge. Okay? Obama's serving his third term, and he talked about it in an interview as the puppet master. He's not in the front lines. Him and Brennan and Clapper and all of their cronies, they're the shadow government. Hillary Clinton, and they're going to get rid of. They're telling you, if you can't see it, that Joe Biden, either through the 25th Amendment or through a radical right-wing, right-privileged, white supremacist person, is going to, we're going to see either another John Brady, the Brady bill there, who tried to shoot Reagan. We're going to see another false flag. It's going to happen, right? And because the gig is up, people are starting to the smell, right? The Hunter Biden laptop, the fact that Trump mentioned that and what with the guy that interviewed Belinsky, who interviewed with Tucker Carlson, how on earth they buried that is just mind blowing to me. But here we are. And what does it do with Canada? Well, what Chrystia Freeland just did today, it's against the act. Ukraine is not a NATO nation. They have not signed on to NATO. We can't give them arms. We're not allowed. So how does that work? So we are going to violate the NATO Act and our own document, our own doctrine, for what? To provoke Putin? I'm going to say this, guys. Putin is a lot smarter than anyone thinks. Yeah. And he's also a lot more connected with the actual real people that want to see populism, nationalism, and freedom. He's really connected, and there's a lot of people that are not afraid to help him out. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, absolutely. In all honesty, I feel this is something that we just need to stay out of. It's kind of none of our business as far as I'm concerned. That this is what you get when you have foreign governments meddling in the affairs of other governments. Mm-hmm. And I think that we do have the possibility for a peaceful outcome. I think that Ukraine was divided way before all of this. I think ultimately they need a referendum. They need to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Maybe there should be an investigation to see how deep all of this foreign government intermingling is going on. And maybe it's the U.S. who's responsible for everything that's happening with it.
The U.S. backed by none other than Mr. George Soros. Mm-hmm. This is the chance right now for us commoners, us average everyday people that want their freedom back, that want to go back to live in a life of liberty, live in a life of freedom of movement, live in a life of being able to pursue whatever path we want to pursue in our career, our family, our happiness. Because George Soros is linked to numerous coups d'etats over his history. He's a person that bets against economies, shorts them, and makes billions of dollars, and does it all under the guise of I'm a philanthropist. I'm a giver. I have this Open Societies Foundation. I've got Media Matters. I'm a good guy. Now is our chance to bring him out, to put him out in the open.
Mm-hmm.
Right out in the open.
I think that guy has a couple of interesting points when he says, "What about negotiated settlement?" They don't talk about that in the media at all.
No, they don't.
What are your thoughts on that? How successful do you think that could be, if at all?
You're talking about a peace broker going in there and working on an agreement?
Like Ukraine and Russia sitting down at the table and coming to a negotiated settlement.
I know Donetsk, Luhansk, Crimea, they all want that, right? And by the way, this just for the record, it needs to be said. Russia's not bombing Donetsk. Russia's not bombing Luhansk. Russia's not bombing them. The Ukraine have been bombing those republics for a long time. Where'd the weaponry come from? How is it happening? Like, I would argue that if they did a referendum in Ukraine, right now they had the whole, like back in that 2014 when you had the Crimea, the Mondiv, the park. When that happened, they were only being fed what the media wanted them to be fed. That they should have joined the EU. They were getting cut off with that, blah blah blah. But actually, I argue that Russia's actually a better trading partner for Ukraine because of where they are located on the sea, right? They could. I think that they should negotiate, and they should come to it because they're more aligned than they think they are.
Yeah. Also, it's my understanding. Have you seen the documentary Ukraine on Fire yet?
Yeah, I watched that one and Winter on Fire, and there's quite noticeable differences between the two of them. But yeah,
it's interesting you say that because the ex-president who got run out of there, he said when he was sitting at the table with the EU that the deal was garbage.
It was. It would have been horrible for Ukraine because it would have boxed them in, and they would have became which is what they became anyways. It would have been a laundering, a really evil. It would have been a very, very, very corrupt place, and it is because they got him out. They got rid of him. He had to flee. They got their guy in. They had Klitschko that came in behind they brought in Poroshenko, I think his name is. They brought him in, and they got what they wanted. They got their deal, their dirty money.
They put their guy in there.
Right. As what's her name? The scary part is Victoria Nuland was part of that. I mean, there's a hot call between the Secretary of State and no one, and she's now still involved today at the same level. That's insane.
It's
crazy.
Scary.
Yeah.
I can't get over it. We're gonna open the floors for some comments on the Chrystia Freeland heckling incident. So I will highlight some of your comments here, and there is quite a few comments about Rick Walker, and Rick Walker is just he is fine. So he's gonna be all right. He's doing fine. He just needs to work on getting better right now, and so yeah, no concern. We'll be back to our regular scheduled programming before too long, and so yeah, nothing to worry about. Queen Elizabeth has to be the first to go so we can rebuild. Rick probably has.
No, nobody has. COVID's gone, guys. It's something different now. Come on.
It's Ukraine now, people.
COVID's a new a term that they've made up. It's a great acronym it's a great nefarious term that they can use for whatever they want. It was SARS-CoV-2. Then that didn't work. That wasn't scary enough. They couldn't call it the Wuhan virus because that wasn't allowed. Couldn't call it the China virus. That wasn't allowed. So they came out and they couldn't call it coronavirus because most people that are on this panel are pretty smart. We can go in and look up coronavirus and find out that coronavirus is actually in every single flu vaccine we've been given. And we know that coronavirus is the common cold. So they had to come up with another name. And what did they come up with? COVID. What a name. Awesome marketing. I can market that all day long. Perfect.
Check out this comment. I have been paying attention a little bit to the politics in France. WEF shill, Macron. It looks like he is going to be in a little bit of trouble. So Van Moor, thank you for your comment here. Today, a voter questioned Macron about saying he wanted to piss off those who hadn't taken the honk honk. And Macron replied, "I was saying it in an affectionate way."
That's equivalent to Trudeau saying she experienced it differently.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I did not feel that was very affectionate, and it looks to me like the opponent in this election is going to be more freedom oriented and a little bit more to the right of Macron. And I don't know enough about it. Have you filled in on what's going on over there?
I don't pay attention to France other than I watch what they do, because I believe that they are like the pendulum. They can swing the pendulum towards an uprising.
Yeah.
Because we can see when we see them doing that stuff, like like actually going to streets and millions, and it might awaken a lot of us that are sitting on our couch right now waiting for something to happen. We may say, "Oh, okay, it's time to." I'm not saying I am not advocating any violence at all. What I am advocating is you gotta get activated, and you gotta get united, and you gotta do it in numbers. You can't protest. You can't have 1,000, like Ottawa, for example. They did great. They activated. They motivated. They woke the nation up. But on
The world, I would dare I say the world. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was there for 2 weeks. I spent 2 weeks there, and right in the heart of it, right down in the red zone. And the reality is, the most of it I saw was on the Saturday afternoon, the second weekend. There might have got to like 1 million, maybe. I don't think so. But you need to have 5 million people there. Like we need to have thousands, hundreds of thousands surrounding those trucks so that they couldn't move them. The police were able to kettle people because there wasn't enough there. They were able to kettle us. We needed to force them to like triple the force of thugs that were there to actually make them have to work way harder than they did.
Yeah.
Peacefully,
But
hockey sticks, nobody cross-checked anybody. There was hockey sticks in there. There were people that had poles. No one did anything violent. No one.
As far as the trucker convoy goes, I think that there's a couple of unexpected victories there. I have said it before, but Justin Trudeau can't show his face on the world stage anymore.
Nope.
And I think that was an unintended victory.
I agree 100% with that. Yes, indeed.
It was a wild card factor. Ralax here says, Freeland has a personal agenda regarding Ukraine. She's going to get us all killed. Reckless. Yes, she has family members from there. Her grandfather was a Nazi propagandist from there.
Yes.
She speaks the language. She went to school for Eastern European cultural studies. She speaks Ukrainian. And...
Yakshamash for my Ukrainian friends. Yakshamash.
Newland, Freeland, ugly sisters.
I will say this. Christian Freeland has a really uncanny resemblance to Grandpa Munster. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
No, I did not. I have not given anybody that. After watching Ukraine on fire, pretty easy to figure out where our protests have been going. In the last 10 years, we're being set up for violent protests. I think
provocateurs. So. Yeah. George Soros and his well-funded Antifa. There seems to be mysterious pallets of bricks showing up at any type of protest event. And those are all orchestrated and well funded. We're just very fortunate that in Canada they never got a chance to get off the ground because the truckers were smart enough to employ Dan Burford and Tom Quiggin, who are involved in counterintelligence and knew exactly what the playbook was going to be. And they're also very smart in putting Dr. Alexander, Dr. Hodgkinson on the forefront because how can you argue with Dr. Alexander? He was on the front line when COVID, when the nefarious pandemic hit. He was on that team, right? He knew what was going on he had firsthand knowledge. So it's very smart on their part to do that.
Yeah, I agree. It baffles me how many of these doctors are actually just like administrators. They're not practicing. They don't have to deal with any of the crap that they set up, basically. No. So it's kind of like, oh well, you know. Yes, I agree. Freeland has big money in Ukraine. Well, in either case, a big shout out to that individual who took strides to bring peace talks into the front and center of the news. Definitely check out that clip again if you guys get the chance. I'm looking forward in the next few days to finding out more about that, because something tells me there's more to that story than just that individual coming out and heckling Freeland. And who knows what's going to be of it? Who knows where this person, where his place lies? Maybe he was watching this show. I don't know. All right. So we're just going to take a quick 30-second break here, and we will be right back with you.
Awesome.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
All right, folks, and so yes, you can support us at freedomreporters.com. That is freedomreporters.com. The link is in the description below, or maybe not because I'm setting up the broadcast right now, but you can go to www.freedomreporters.com. I'll make sure I put the hot links in there for later for sure. So I apologize about that, folks, but in either case, you can also support us if you are unable to financially by giving this video a thumbs up and hitting the subscribe button and sharing with all your friends, including, your family. Maybe you can get your dog involved, get your dog a YouTube account or a Rumble account and give us a thumbs up. That's also appreciated. But here we go into the second story. So there's been some things happening in Shanghai.
China.
It hasn't been good. The government has a zero COVID policy, and some footage is coming out from the intense lockdowns that is happening over there. And for what you're about to see, this stuff gives me nightmares. There's the two worst things that your government could do to you is, number one, kill you, or number two, they could stick you in solitary confinement. Those are two worst things that the government can do to you. There's also lawfare and other stuff like that, but this chills me to the bone with what happened here. How do I bring it? Oh, there we go. And so we'll plug this in here, just let it play. Do we have audio? No audio.
所有人都在叫，
I'll scroll back.
这个是真的来叫啊！好了，终于2万人，所有人都在叫，要命了！
They don't care
就
anymore.
刚刚
Just now it started.
5分钟前头，
They weren't that
叫啊没几个
many
了，
screaming
现在突
5
然之
minutes
间
ago. Now all of a sudden
所有人
everyone
都叫
is.
了。
It's so bad. Shanghai has been under a strict COVID-19 lockdown for 7 days. China attempts to curb an Omicron outbreak.
要再这样弄下去，我跟你讲，
There's going to be big trouble.
麻
It's going
烦
to be
根
troublesome.
治上面呢， 因为
That's the problem
所有个
because no
人
one knows
你都不晓得这个
how
状
long the
态
situation is going to last.
到底维持到啥个
The
程度。
government
我总要
ought to
把个
provide a
把个
standard,
标准，或者是讲有一个
a
具体的
detailed
说法。
explanation, but there is none.
没，侬讲看，
Think about it. 7 days locked
闷
in,
闷了7天，
locked inside the house, no outdoor
到了
activity.
屋里向啊，不能出门啊，
It's
不
not
是说
just
不能出小
locked
区，
inside the community.
这不行的嘛，让弄
It's
下
not
就
going.
出
It's
事。
not going to work. There'll be trouble. A government drone was also spotted in the area, instructing residents to comply with the COVID-19 measures. Residents of Juling, epidemic control. Please strictly comply epidemic prevention regulations. Control your desire for freedom. Do not open your windows and sing. It risks spread of the virus.
You know, in Ottawa, we had the same thing going over loudspeakers. Get out of the red zone. You must leave, or you will be, or you could be arrested. They did the same stuff in Ottawa, having it over
For
there.
our final rule tonight, it's time for another edition of one of our favorite departments here on Real Time, explaining jokes to idiots.
Just a moment, I got some audio somewhere. Sorry about that.
No problem.
That chills me to my bone. Resist your urge for freedom. Do not put your head outside the window. It will risk contracting the virus.
In what way exactly? I thought that the as one of the people in the chat here, the norovirus, I thought it was spread through contact. I didn't think it lived in the trees and the wind and the skyscrapers, like in the cement. I'm flabbergasted at, and this goes back to, we want the government to get us out of this, and we want the government to help us with this. The government doesn't help you with anything like this. Look what they've done. Look what they continue to do. The fact is, we have a bunch of unelected bureaucrats that are appointed by the electorate that are now making not only just medical policy, they're making policies around what our activities can be. They're deciding who's essential, who's not essential. They're deciding what business is allowed to go, what business isn't. Explain to me how a natural path or a natural pharmaceutical store that sells nutraceuticals, how they're unessential, but a McDonald's is essential, can be open. And not to mention these guys right here are showing us what's going to happen now. They are not going to stop. This is going to spread out. And the fact is, if anyone trusts anything coming from China after what happened for the last and we're now going into 2.5 years, we all need to wake up and shake our heads, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, numbers are going up right now as they often do at this time, or that's the pattern that has been set, that there's also always a winter jump and then there's a spring jump.
And why? But why? It's because it's natural. The ground's thawing. You've got mold. You've got different pollutants in the air causing some allergic reactions. It's all this is all a natural path. I tell my friends, do you not forget like 3 years ago that we had a flu season that we actually had a portion of it that would get sick and we'd all get through it and then we just move on? Like we never asked the government for we never tested ourselves for something and then have someone say, oh, by the way, your friend tested positive for this. You were at an event. You put by the way, I've never signed in my name. I'm Pablo Cruz. My number's 519-541-1000. I will never tell them my information. It's none of their business. But you get a call and then you get tested and you're not symptomatic, but you test positive. Now all of a sudden, healthy people are now sick. It's a very deliberate attempt to install fear, which will I mean, you're still seeing it, Brendan, right? No matter how many have been lifted, go to your local shopping center and see how many people are still wearing a piece of fabric that if you were to ask them what it's doing, well, it's protecting you from nothing. What if someone seizes on me? I'm 54 years old. Other than a sick child, I have never had anyone sneeze on me.
Yeah, I've never had that either. A lot of people say in regards to the masking app that, when you talk, you spit at people. It's like, well, I mean, we all know those people. We all know those people who say, blah, 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 blah. We all know those people, but nobody likes those people. Nobody hangs out with those people.
Well, and unless they're sick and it goes right into your mouth, it's not going. Like, this is my point. Like, the 6 feet. Like, I love Jim Brewer, right? If anybody hasn't seen it, it is the funniest thing you'll ever see. He does the 3 skits on COVID, and it's hilarious, right? Because he talks about 6 feet safe, 5 feet danger, right? And the ever changing rules and regulations for your safety, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a key indicator. That scene out of Shanghai reminds me of that clip from that movie. I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. Yeah. That's what that reminds me of. 7 days of being locked in your home. That is beyond excessive. It does make me glad that I don't live in a major epicenter or a major city like that, because that's what you get when you live on top of people too, right? Like, transmission is going to spread in those conditions, but the CCP believes that they can have a zero COVID policy, and that's just, no, it doesn't happen. It's never going to happen. A government is not able to fight a virus. They can hardly dislodge truckers out of Ottawa, let alone fight a virus.
And let's talk about the virus, right? So, gain of function research, right? They are deliberately trying to manufacture, and they're bragging about it. Peter Daszak and Fauci and the New York Times guy, they're on a panel. This is right around when COVID, I might stop saying that word, when it happened. And they bragged about that they were using bats at the time to try and find a way to cross the virus over from animals to humans, right? And then what does Fauci say? Well, we got to change the system. It'll take us 10 years to get a treatment to fix it. So we need to find a way around it. And what did they do? They figured out we could cause pandemonium, panic through hyperbolic ways, through using the legacy media, the propaganda, and we can get people to accept it under a emergency pretext. Everyone that's taken this stuff has taken it without informed consent. There's been no labeling. There's been no evidence of what it has. There's been no evidence of efficacy at all that it actually will do anything that it says it does. And then when it doesn't do what they say it does, they say, "Oh, well, you won't get as sick." Okay, I thought it's, but you told me on a clip I watched you said you take this and a world will open back up and we won't get sick anymore. And it's the white knight we've all been waiting for. We'll never be sick again. What happened? And the PCR test. We're still using these things, really? When we look at the CDC say that they're ineffective, we have all the medical bodies that force those things down our throat to make those companies millions and billions of dollars, I might add. Now we're still using those tests. I refuse them. You know why? Because they serve no purpose. They have no purpose in the overall prevention of a flu that's killing less than 0.05% of the population. If you take the elderly out of it, it's literally less. This thing has become less an event than the worst flu season we've ever had. That's what's scary, is that we've allowed ourselves to fall into this trap, and because no one wants to kill grandma. No one wants. And what do? They place on the children. The children. You got to take that thing because you don't want to kill your grandma. Hey guys, kids aren't going to kill grandma. Kids are the best. They have the best immune systems. They are designed to play in dirt, to play in microbial matter, to deal with stuff so that their body develops strong antigens and stuff. And they don't want that. They want to break us down. And the mask, I argue, the mask is about breaking down your some of your cells, some of your mononuclear cells, some of your mitochondria. It's about destroying your lung tissue. And you know what? That sounds very conspiratorial, but there's lots of people out there that are showing evidence that that's what's happening.
Yes. Yeah, it is so overbearing and broadening. I was able to find a let's see here. I was able to find this article from the New York Post. The people who brought you Hunter's laptop.
Wow.
Not very successfully though.
They put it out there and then they let it die.
Yeah. China leading citizens to jump from balconies in quest to achieve COVID-0. Over 2 weeks, the financial capital of China, Shanghai, has been locked down tight. Some 26 million people languish in their apartments, staring at their now empty refrigerators, unable to set foot outside to forage for food for fear of arrest and incarceration. Foreigners are in the same predicament, as one complained on Twitter. Day 16 of our COVID lockdown in Shanghai today, and food is the key thing on people's minds. We aren't allowed to leave home, so delivery is the only way. I was up at 6 a.m. yesterday trying to get any kind of delivery, but nothing was available all day. So far, the same result.
Wow.
So these are people who are very much used to just going out to local markets, going to the grocery store whenever they want to. I could assume a lot of these people don't have cars because it's very inner city. We were told by your good friend today. I'm sorry. Brooke. Yes. So Brooke has been to Shanghai, and he said he'd had a neighborhood in the gym, or he had a gym in the neighborhood. Excuse me. He had a gym in the neighborhood that he operated in Shanghai, of where that previous video we were watching, and he says it's all working class area, so most of these people probably don't have cars. They probably get everything on foot, and this is crazy scary that the government isn't thinking about anybody's actual safety, because if you're just going to starve to death in your apartment. Like, I mean, I have some rations at home that I could tap into, and it would probably lead me on the path to malnourishment. Like, if you had a bag of rice, for example, you're not getting that much nutrients out of a bag of rice, per se. So you go ahead.
Yeah, and this is what when you watch that video, right, and you watch, they may not want us to watch it yet. They may not want to become mainstream. But believe me, that's going to be the next thing. They're going to bring this. They're already bringing. I mean, you had the leader of the free world, in his own senile way, shrug his shoulders and say, food shortages are a reality. They're happening. You have to be ready prepare for it. How do you prepare for a food shortage exactly when your main populace live in vertical housing?
Yeah.
Right. You've got Vancouver, this biggest city, one of the biggest cities in Canada. Go there. It's mostly vertical housing. You go to any big city in the States, New York, Chicago. It's mostly vertical housing. So if you can't leave, and not to mention, we're not set up for delivery. We're not set up for that yet. I mean, they've got some stopgaps, but we're not ready for en masse home delivery. Pick your food. Why do we know this? Because right now, if you go to any grocery store, what are you seeing? It's a normalization of empty shelves. They are normalizing. They are getting us ready to get used to living in scarcity and living without being able to get what we may want. And you know what the sad part is? They're going to make it so we can't get what we need. Okay? They're going to make sure that the chicken fingers are stocked full. They're going to make sure that all the garbage, all the processed stuff is there. But the stuff that you really need to live a healthy lifestyle, the stuff that's on the outside walls of the store, you're going to have a hard time getting. Lean ground beef. Every week we go to buy some. Hard to find.
I've had varying experiences with that. I know the host for the show, Rick Walker, he He says he's having a hard time getting crinkle cut French fries. It's kind of our running joke at this point. Because man,
That's a luxury. Crinkle cut burgers is a luxury.
maybe he's not. Maybe that's why he's not feeling well, because he's going through crinkle cut French fry withdrawal.
Maybe.
Could be a thing. But in either case, you hit the nail on the head. And not only that, if you do engage in Canada in most cities, with any of the online ordering platforms, whether it be Instacart or
Costly, very expensive.
very expensive, also skip the dishes and all that. I gotta say, it's each experience that you ever use it is never the same.
No,
Like it-
And, I'll give you my Instacart experience. So I went on there. I was on the road, and I was in a hotel room that had a stove, right? So I decided I'm going to buy some groceries to make my own food.
Yeah.
Three of the things that I asked for, they brought me something totally different. They didn't have it. They picked the next best thing. Like I didn't order. They didn't bring me, and they brought me a cake that I never asked for. It was, I just went like, what the, like, I didn't order that. Check my card. I didn't order the cake. Like, it showed up. Like, it was weird.
Did you eat the cake?
No,
No.
I gave it to a homeless guy outside.
Okay, that works.
Yeah.
Not only that, it's very inconsistent. Where one day it might take like no time, and then the next day you're waiting like 5 hours or like
I know.
longer than you should. It's like you could have made like a full course meal in the time that they come and bring you food. That's my experience anyway.
Oh, it wasn't a cake. It was a vegetable tray. It wasn't a cake. It was a vegetable tray. It was a vegetable tray. It wasn't a cake. It was a vegetable tray. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
No, I don't want to give anyone like. I want to make sure I tell a fact. That was a fact. It was a vegetable tray. So
That's all good. Back to this here. There's more to this article. It says the unlucky ones who test positive for COVID each day, like the 17,077 Shanghainese who did on Wednesday, symptomatic or not, and 9 out of 10 show no signs of the illness. They are hauled off to hastily erected quarantine camp.
unbelievable.
And I've seen images of those things. It's like you get this little whatever by whatever room with a little desk and a little place to sit, and you're not allowed to leave. They lock you in there,
Yeah.
and
what
that's where you
happens-
stay.
What happens to their credit score when that happens? What I wonder if anyone could find out for us. So if I was a Chinese citizen and I was in China in Shanghai and I got, God forbid, they came and they forced me to take a test because I wouldn't willingly do it, and I took the test and I tested positive, but I'm healthy. What would be the impact on my bank account, on my employment status? If
I'm
I
not
didn't,
sure.
if I didn't willingly go and I put up a little bit of resistance, I wonder what the damage would be to my credit score if I did that.
Had your friend Brooke, who's currently spending time out east,
Yeah,
has he touched on social credit system out there? If that
a little bit, but he lives in Taiwan, right? So it's a
Taiwan,
little different for him.
Mhm.
But he just he talks about how they wear masks over there, and it's just a form of being polite, so it's a non-issue for him. And again, what they're doing in China is they want us to be scared, right? They want us to see what's coming, and they're preparing us to get ready for whatever they're going to do next. And now you've had the former CDC director say that the real pandemic hasn't happened, that the Rona was just a trial run, and there's another one coming behind it. It's going to be way worse. It's going to have Ebola. It's going to be, and they keep bringing up the AIDS, right? Put a V in front of it, right?
Mhm.
There's a reason why they're bringing that back, and that it's making a comeback. If you just read the documents from Pfizer, just go read them. It's in there.
Yeah.
Okay. And way back when, and I remember this through the day, about, I think it was just before this week in April of 2020. I put out a post, and I said, this is a man-made virus. It's got markers in it, it's chimeric, and it has the HIV marker in it, where they're using the HIV delivery system. So your fears of it being transmissible through air or through any other source than contact are null and void. They're lying to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're crazy. Blah blah blah. What happened? The Indian scientists that found it out, the Gateway Pundit put it out. They're quoted. The scientific reports in there. And what did they do? They went and tried to vilify the Gateway Pundit. I follow the Gateway Pundit because you know what? Joe Hoft is a corporate auditor, and Jim Hoft is a heck of a researcher and a heck of a journalist. Those guys are on it. They were the ones that leaked out the 3.7 million to Wuhan from the NIH under Dr. Fauci and President Obama. They linked it back to Lieber and Harvard University and two Chinese researchers. Then they went. They now have a link to the Winnipeg lab. Like this. These guys have done, and this is what I want people to do. Why I'm out here, why I'm talking on your show, is I want people to understand. We could only beat these guys at their own game by being informed armed with facts, being able to readily call them up. You don't need them all. Pick a few that are good ones. Pick a few that you can silence narratives, silence discussions. When someone tries to tell you that this thing's real and it's killing people, ask them, who do you know that didn't have a comorbidity? What that means is wasn't sick already, wasn't like 80 years old or 100 years old, that wasn't living in an environment where it was like old people and it's all in one house. Who do you know that's died of COVID? More importantly, Tim, name a child that's died of it. I'll wait. And they don't have any. And then what happens? They attack, right? Because their head vibrates. Let them attack you. It's okay. But point them and say, look, don't take my word for it. Go look it up. Go look this up. Look that up. You know what? If you really want to blow your brains out, you want to read something for fun, and you feel like you have to be more informed. And I'm not a doctor. I get that all the time. You're not a doctor. Well, I can tell you right now, I am as educated and I am as knowledgeable in virology, in what happens when I get a cold, what happened to SARS-CoV-1 in 2005, the fact that they didn't do the genome. How do I know that? Because I read the report on the NIH and I read a Forbes article that told me they didn't isolate it. I'm as educated as any GP is out there, and I'll challenge anyone to an argument because I am armed with facts. I read JAMA. I've read New England Medicine. I read stuff, PubMed.gov, all this stuff. CDC, VAERS, I read it. So when they say you're not a doctor, you don't need to be a doctor. You just need to be able to read. So if you want to read something, you want to understand what their game plan is, you want a blueprint for what they're doing, read Rosa Kore's UN 2030 agenda. She goes into immense detail of what they're doing, why they're doing it, and how they're going to do it. She talks about police state. She talks about climate change. She talks about the militarization of police. What do you think's happened right now? Would anyone argue with me when I say our police have been militarized?
Hell no, I wouldn't.
Right? So how do you combat a militarized police force when you're a civilian? You have to have numbers, and you have to have facts, and you have to make sure that you do nothing illegal.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's what our primary message definitely is that ultimately Canada, our country Canada, where we live, and I mean our show is a bit international, so I mean we do have people from United States and that sort of thing, but Canada as we know it is dead and is currently in the stage where it could be resuscitated, but that needs to be worked out at this point. There's a couple more interesting things in this article here. So it says the Shanghai lockdown is the largest since the first Wuhan lockdown 2 years ago. Is China's latest attempt to achieve COVID-0. An army of healthcare workers, some 38,000 in all, have been sent to Shanghai with instructions to completely stamp out the coronavirus. An army of medical practitioners.
Of
healthcare
Listen to that
workers.
verbiage. An army of medical practitioners.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting way to phrase it.
They are frantically testing and retesting everyone. Ugh.
I saw those suits at the airport, with one of the Chinese airlines, and I literally laughed I couldn't even believe it. Like,
Yeah.
this is like last June. There's no one in line. There's no one getting on their flipping planes, and they're dressed in those stupid suits. Oh my god!
I beg your pardon?
They were dressed in those suits at the airport. I couldn't even like wrap my head around it. Like, it just, oh god.
And quite disturbingly, there is a video, and it shows a couple falling to their death,
Oh,
and that people are jumping out of the windows.
that's nuts. That's just unbelievable.
Those desperate enough to venture outside in their search for food are hunted down by big whites, members of the security forces who owe their nicknames to the white hazmat suits they wear, patrolling the streets day and night. The big whites arrest and jail anyone caught breaking quarantine, who often get beaten in the process.
What a perfect outfit. You can't make out who they are. They're totally hidden. There's no way to call them out. That is just disgusting.
This whole situation is disturbing. I can't get over it. This is like Quebec lockdown times 10, I would say.
Oh yeah.
Quite easy. My heart goes out to those individuals.
Me too.
I will open the floor for comments on this subject. What's happening in Shanghai? People, what are your thoughts? And I'll gladly bring up your comments here. I would hang my ass out the window. Yeah,
Big dump.
there'd be a full moon in Shanghai that night, let me tell you. If this isn't human rights violation, I don't know what is. Oh,
100%, Irma. 100%.
yeah. And what's the UN busy doing? The UN is busy trying to figure.
You mean the UN that is the WHO is under the WHO is underneath the UN, and China's the biggest. They're the biggest payer. They're the biggest. The biggest donators to the WHO.
Mhm.
You mean that UN? Yeah. Sorry, the UN already put Saudi Arabia and China on the human rights tribunal. Like, that is an oxymoron. I don't know. Like, I mean, what is going on?
Yeah. Hey, we've had human rights abuses here in Canada that also need investigation. So hey, if these organizations claim to be of any authority on the matter, go get them, because people are jumping out of buildings there. Rachel says they probably have had more than 3 honks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say. Unlike Ukraine, this is real. Yeah, my heart goes out to these people. Like, nobody deserves that. These are terrible things that are happening to people, and this isn't the virus that's doing it to them. It's the government that's doing it to them, and the government saying it's the virus that's making us do it.
Yeah. And when it's like when you have a captor and they say, listen, just put these handcuffs on and just get in the back seat and no, nothing will happen to you. And then all of a sudden that person has disappeared. And then the next, like, the minute you comply with it, the minute we allow it to happen, and this is what I had a friend of mine say to me, well, come on, you live in Canada, it's a great, we still got it made here. Look at it. I'm like, really? We have it made. I spent 3 months in a cell of my house. I couldn't go out. I went out for a walk and got told by the police I need to go back home.
Holy smokes! And
Like,
you see,
I'm sorry, but like, I'm
glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that, because people all say here that, well, Doug Ford said that the police could do that, but then all the police chiefs walked it back. Well, I mean, organizations I used to work for, which involved driving around at all hours of the night, those people were also pulled over and they were asked what their business was illegally.
And think about that. Like, I'm going to visit. I'm going to work. I'm coming home from a visit with my friend, my girlfriend, my wife, whatever. You have a policeman. Now what happens? They scanned your plate. They've asked you for your ID. Now, if you say no, then you're putting yourself in a box because now you're non-compliant and you're a hard ass. And excuse my language, but and then they can decide whether they want to how far they want. And if it's an easy night for them and they don't have anything else better to do, they can really go out. They can really do some really. And under the law, they can do it. Under that law, they can do whatever they wanted. They could have taken you, impounded your car, arrested you for mischief. Now, there's the latest thing, right? Think about this. They now can arrest you for mischief, throw you in jail without any due process until the next day or the day after, to whenever you can get in front of a judge and duty counsel if you don't have a lawyer, and then they can release you. And then what happens? The charges get dropped because they're unlawful, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's just all fear. It's all fear tactics. If you don't do what we tell you to do, this is what can happen to you. Like, listen to what Freeland said. Chrystia Freeland, when they announced the Emergency Measures Act, you can lose your right to travel. She wasn't talking about travel abroad. She was talking about traveling in the country. Okay? Like, she wasn't talking about going to Egypt or going to Brazil or even the US. She was talking about in the country, in Canada. Like, this is where they're going with it. They don't want us to travel freely. We will have checkpoints at border. They've already proven it. They did it. They tried it. They tried it last year, and it worked. We didn't do anything. We stopped at the checkpoints. We gave them our ID. We told them we were going for business. We played the game. What one of my friends did, he drove right through it on the Coquihalla in Vancouver. I was in BC at the time. Drove right through it. Didn't stop. They pulled him over, and he said, "You missed the checkpoint." He's like, "No, I didn't." Well, it's none of your right, none of your concern where I'm going. I'm from BC. I'm a Canadian citizen. I'm going down the highway, and you can't stop me. Right now, they held him, but he knew the charter. He knew what to say, and they let him go. Okay.
Interesting.
But the thing is, most of us wouldn't do it, right? Because we don't want those consequences. We don't want the aggravation. We don't want the confrontation, right?
The lawfare. That's the big thing. That I would say is the third worst thing the government can do to you is commit lawfare on you. Epoch says something rather concerning to me. I'm hearing reports that CV plus people in China. I'm sure we all know what they mean by CV plus. People in China are having their pets brutally destroyed on the spot. That wouldn't surprise me, but I'm not sure.
It could be propaganda. We got to be careful with that one. It could be propaganda.
I haven't verified it, but it's an interesting thought. Shame on them. They're monsters for what they're doing. I'm not sure who that is.
Yeah, the late Rosa Koire. Yeah, that's the one I was telling you about. The UN agenda. Yeah.
It's all about control and fear tactics, 100%.
Yeah. Report
from Ukraine is that Russia have captured a U.S. lieutenant general in one of the biolabs.
Yeah, and for Victoria Nuland, when Marco Rubio, believe me, Marco Rubio's a hero. That was orchestrated, guys. They deliberately put that into the Congress record because they had to, because they knew that it was going to get out that Russia had found the labs. So what they did was they strategically planted a Republican, not a Democrat. It was a Republican. He's a rhino. Okay, he's a Republican in disguise. And he asked the question of Victoria Nuland, him and his dumb ears, and he said, blah 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 blah. Federal lab. Did they? And Victoria Nuland, yep. They said a week before that there were no labs. That was all Russia propaganda and Russia lies. And then what happened was the female military secretary, I believe, stood up and said, "We have proof. We have them. We know where they are, and we can show you." And what happened? Well, I would, and then you wouldn't want the Russians to get a hold of that. What's in those labs, would you? Now think about that. Just stop for a second. This is what they count on us not doing. I stopped and went, "What the heck is in those labs? What is in those labs that they're so scared of it?" Because she said, that's exactly right. We don't want Russia to get their hands on it because they could use it for nefarious purposes. So what were you planning on using them for then? What was the reason you had them there? Like I go back, we had to stop and go, well, what was in the lab? What was
Yeah.
it? What were they using the information for? What was the reason they were there?
Well, I think the Russians have all the same stuff because it's my understanding a lot of it goes back to the USSR. Whatever else is in there was probably developed with funding through the United States,
NATO.
which is clearly going on because they have admitted it, and we have showed you that on the show previously. So that bugs me. Cassandra Wilson says China is too far gone for those people, and they can't even say anything. That's our future.
Coming.
It's coming. I'm currently predicting. People are telling me I'm crazy. I'm predicting that it might be that children in Ontario don't go back to school after Easter break. So, I mean, that's coming up this weekend. Any thoughts?
I'm hoping not. I'm hoping it's May. I'm hoping it's the May 2-4 weekend I'm hoping that they keep the leash off of us for the shackles off of us. The leash is always on us. The shackles off of us until then, right?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised because there's articles in CBC today talking about the fact that mask mandates that wearing masks need to come back. There's now they want to put the mask back in the schools. Yeah, they're not, unless we say no in a massive way, they are just going to keep doing this over because no one is challenging the medical authorities. And they shouldn't, by the way, they shouldn't be authorities. They are medical professionals that give advice to governments. They do not have any authority. So contrary to what Bonnie Henry and Dr. Moore and Dr. Hinshaw, who's now in deep trouble in Alberta, all these doctors that think that they have authority, they have none. We did not vote for them. They are not part of the democratic process.
Mm-hmm. Funny you should mention Dr. Dina Hinshaw. So she's not so much in trouble as her ideas and ideologies are currently in the hot seat.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting.
Nothing will happen. Like the JCCF, God love them. They're a great organization, and they are very instrumental, very good tool in the war with using the law. But right now, I would argue, I don't really see a lot of law and order in our country. I don't know how you can use legalese to solve a problem that's actually not following any legal process at all. They're just doing what they want because they don't have to answer to anything.
Mm-hmm.
They have a minority government for how long? Trudeau's had a minority government. Where have the opposition been? They've done nothing. Yeah. They've just gone along and went along. Let's hope that changes soon.
Let's hope. It says, like 9/11, people jumping to their death instead of burning to death. In this case, they're starving to death. It's perverted beyond disbelief. I share your sentiments for Alex 100%.
Mm-hmm.
That is
if that gets out on a video and it can be proven to be factual and not propagandized.
Yeah.
You want to talk about using the empathy card? That will definitely bring the empathy card and bring people into action. It's funny. We'll do more for animals, more for things that are not attached to us than our own children. Sometimes it really is staggering to see that.
Yes, it is. Especially if you show images of an animal in distress or something. I don't know about you, but I mean, I don't cry for anything. But if a dog is hurt or something's wrong, or if I've had dogs die in my life, right?
Yeah.
And whenever it happens, I cry. It's very sad for me. But just about anything else in life, it's like I don't cry about anything. But
I run over a squirrel or a rabbit, I'm not losing any sleep. But when I run over a dog, I know that dog belongs to somebody, and it makes me sick, and I do get very emotional.
Yeah. This is a very interesting concept here. China is the model for the beta testing Western nations who want a Chinese style of totalitarianism.
Our illustrious gentleman with nice hair and the ability to put his whole body on a table and stand there vertical. That guy, the actor that became prime minister. He's the guy that literally said in an interview, what nation do you admire? I admire China for their basic dictatorship because it's allowed them to do things that we can't do in a democracy. We still elected that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. Ooh, I'm getting some echo, I think. No, it's fine. Okay, taking a look here. If toilet paper runs out, there's always the option with the window.
So that guy's got some humor. So I'm suspecting he's talking about the psyop of them watching us run out to the grocery store to fill our carts full of toilet paper.
I think he's talking about doing business out the window.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that too. Yeah. That's even more important. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Maybe Jerry, you could comment on that. And
True. He has a double entendre there.
yeah. Well, we're going to take another 30-second break here, and before we go into our next story, the final story of the evening, and where did I put it? All right, so just bear with us, folks, and we'll be right back.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
And you can support us at freedomreporters.com. That is freedomreporters.com. We are currently in the midst of expanding our operations here, making things bigger and better. We're not building back better, we're making it better.
Can I talk? There's a comment in the stream here that talks about masks working and surgeons wearing them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so surgeons wearing masks for
Is
a
it from
specific.
Hallelujah?
I don't know, but I just saw it, and you know what? The masks that they wear are not to prevent pathogens from entering their body. They wear a sweat cap. They wear a mask, and the masks work to prevent any contamination to occur while they're sitting or handling an open cavity. And they don't wear the same mask for hours on end. And when you're dealing with an actual pathogen, they wear a hazmat suit that they literally wear once. They take off the scarf and throw into the sterile or to the garbage. So please stop with that. That is an absolute fallacy and an absolute. People wearing cloth masks that they wear day in, day out, over and over again without cleaning, or wearing the blue mask where it says right on the box, this will not stop the transmission of the disease that is where it's supposed to be doing it for. That's not an argument. I'm sorry. It's just not.
No. So I will add to my last point there. You can help us out at freedomreporters.com. You could also help us by liking and subscribing to this channel and sharing it with your friends and your family.
Yeah. And one more thing. If I want to wear a mask, it should be my choice.
Yeah.
If I don't want to wear a mask and I say I'm exempt, it ends there. The businesses that I'll tell you what, go to Walmart, don't wear a mask a month ago. Nobody says a word. Go to Supercenter. Nobody says a word. There's a reason. They know the law. They know the Human Rights Act, and they know that if they had 1,000 cases of human rights against their business, it's a lot of dough. It's $35,000 to $70,000 per claim. Okay, but when I go into those small businesses and the ones that don't know those rules and they do it and they become enforcement agents for the health body, for the army of medical practitioners. I'm going to use that a lot. The army of medical practitioners that are walking around terrorizing businesses. That's where I say no. Mm-hmm. I have a medical exemption, and my medical condition is not your concern. And I have a legitimate one, by the way. I could easily get a letter and I could go, but I refuse to do it. You know why? Because it's been tried before, guys. They tried it before. Don't eat me last. I'll be a good person. I will get the exemption, and they got forced exemptions work permits. What happened to them? They all died anyways. A lot of them. Yeah, unbelievably, and it's sad that happened. But that's our history. I'm sorry, I don't want to repeat it. I don't want to go down that road. I don't want them to say you have unacceptable views. You don't see the world the right way. The government has deemed you unnecessary. You are now scheduled for termination. There's a movie we heard that in. Do we know which one it is? Demolition Man, where they talk about you're scheduled for termination.
Yes.
I don't want to live like that ever. I don't want that. But by the way, I know it's out there, but guess what? That can happen. It's happening right now in a country that has this system already in place.
It's absolutely the case, and this is not over. People are saying, "Oh, well, it's all over now." It's not over.
It's a moot point. It's a moot point. It's a moot point. It's not a moot point.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's not over. They still got all their, well, they like to call it tools in their toolbox.
Mhm.
We have all these different tools for everything. That is the same case as well. These tools are still there. I call them tools of tyranny.
Logan's runs another one. Yeah. Epic Catharsis. That's another movie that does that, where they have a scheduled party where they watch you all get offed. Yeah, crazy.
Have you ever watched Doctor Who? Are you familiar with the Cybermen?
I've never watched it, but I'm familiar a little bit with it. But yeah.
Oh, there's these cheap, clunky looking AI things. They're like robots, and their whole purpose is they sometimes come to Earth, and Doctor Who has to fight them. And their whole thing is they come to Earth and turn everybody into cyborgs. And when they're rounding everybody up, they always go, "Please come for your complimentary free upgrade," or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, no, screw that. You can keep your upgrade. I don't want it.
Me neither.
So into this next story here, I think you're gonna love this one. I saw this. The BBC put this out, and man, what is wrong with people? So this came out 22 hours ago. The microchip implant that lets you pay with your hand. So, talking about free upgrades, these upgrades are not free yet,
No.
but it is a technology that is available now.
And you've got a banking advertisement right on it. Wow.
Yeah, they're trying to sell me some services.
Talk about a placement, my lord.
So it goes on to say here, Patrick Pauman causes a stir whenever he pays for something in a shop or a restaurant. This is because this 37-year-old doesn't need to use a bank card or his mobile phone to pay. Instead, he simply places his left hand near the contactless card reader and the payment goes through.
Yeah.
The
So
restrictions,
wow.
the reactions I get from cashiers are priceless, says Mr. Pauman, a security guard from the Netherlands. He's able to pay using his hand because back in 2019, he had a contactless payment microchip injected under his skin. The procedure hurts as much as when someone pinches your skin, says Mr. Pauman. It doesn't hurt. Get one.
Yeah.
It'll be ever nice. A microchip was first implanted in a human back in 1998, but it's only during the past decade that the technology has been available commercially. And when it comes to implantable payment chips, British-Polish firm the Walletmore says that last year it became the first company to offer them for sale.
So what's the name of the company?
Walletmore. And I got that info coming up.
Good. I'd be very curious to see who owns that company.
Yes, and I have. I'm sorry. Sometimes a comment comes out at you from this corner of your eye. That was a story we covered last week that a German man
Yeah.
was a vaccine jockey, and he got 90 vaccinations. People were paying him to go get them for them, and then updating their vaccine records based off of it.
Well, they got an answer to that. They tried them at the airports the last year. They're molecular scanners. They read your your everything in your body. They know if you had it or not. You're not gonna be able to get away with it. They've already got that figured out.
Wallet Morris says it became the first company to offer these for sale. The implant can be used to pay for a drink on a beach in Rio, a coffee in New York, a haircut in Paris, or at your local grocery store, says founder and chief executive Wojtek Paprota. Sorry, I just slaughtered that very hard. Wojtek Paprota. But it can be used wherever contactless payments are accepted. Wallet Morris chip, which weighs less than a gram and is a little bigger than a grain of rice, is comprised of a tiny microchip and an antenna encased in a biopolymer, a naturally sourced material similar to plastic. Mr. Paprota adds that it's entirely safe and has regulatory approval, works immediately after being implanted, and will stay firmly in place. It also does not require a battery or any other power source. The firm says it has now sold more than 500 of the microchips. So it goes on and on and on. Don't need to really finish this article with you guys. You could feel free to look it up at home. But if you look at it, I find it kind of interesting. This came up under their business section today, and I couldn't believe that it just jumped out at me. And interestingly enough, it goes into the left hand, which is the devil's playground. Just kidding, but you know what I mean. This is crazy. And we've talked about digital identification before.
Which Canada just signed on to try to do a trial run for a travel app, right? They're going to do it on a travel. So they're going to use it they're going to replace the ArriveCan system, and they're going to bring in a new system, right? And I don't know if you talked at all about that 2 weekends ago, where everybody was, all of the big wigs, all of the World Economic Forum and the global leaders were. They're at the World Government Summit, and they actually talked about the economy. They talked about this type of stuff. They talked about a new currency, a new global currency, right? So this guy just said, I can pay for this in Mexico. I can pay for this in the Netherlands. I can go where I want. So they're talking about a global bank, a global centralized bank, centralized digital banking currency. Mm-hmm. They're talking about having a digital banking constitution to protect the human rights of everyone. I would love to see what that looks like. But I don't know about you, but I don't want to be part of one world government. I don't want to be under one controllable entity. I like having a sovereign nation. I like having a confederate style republic system. Mm-hmm. Right? No system's perfect, but I rather thought that our social, back in 1990, in the early 90s and late 80s, we had a perfect balance between capital, corporate interest, and the capitalistic interest, and the social balance. And what's happened to our country is not accidental. The WEF, the World Economic Forum, George Soros, the Bilderberg Group, these guys are real. They're not some make-believe fictionary tale. They are real people who have been working against humanity, and the commoners, the people that have been the biggest consumers of the products that they produce, have been working against us to bring us to this point of control. They've been studying our behavior through DARPA. We can go on and on. Mm-hmm. When I see this ad, people will just line up to do it because what's the big deal?
It's so easy and convenient. You could pay. You don't need to bring your wallet anymore. You don't even need to bring your phone anymore.
You don't have to wait with the passwords. It's in you now. It's all good.
Hallelujah asks, how does this microchip turn us into China? Anyone? WTF? Well, I'll tell you how. It starts with the microchip offering you easy and convenience. It'll just make your life so much easier. Get a free upgrade, hallelujah. Get a free upgrade. That's what they'll say.
Yeah.
And right now they're selling it to you. It's about 500 pounds a pop, I believe, and we're going to get into that. But it starts with this, and then it goes into social credit system, which we talked about on Saturday night's episode about ESGs, economic social governance, which is the beginning of social credit systems in our country here at this time.
Exactly.
You could look it up. I already showed you guys a lot of things about that. However, what you have to understand about ESGs is they're getting it ready for the individual. And there's already articles that you can find that are written by all of these organizations, these non-governmental organizations that have interest in doing these things. And these are all the same players that Tom was talking about. It starts with this, and then it ends with ESGs. And you could, like I said, they want us to get ready to knowing how we could calculate our ESG score. And that's going to determine where you work, what you can buy, what you could do. This is connected to it somehow. And we know that. Because if you go on their website, and I know you had some interest in this, Tom, so just need to get the right link. And you could also, I'm going to wager that you could also fix these things so that you can put the ArriveScan app connected to it. Like they could probably very easily use the same QR scan code that goes directly into whatever file it is that you have. I would wager.
So I can't share my screen because I can't find it on, like I'm using it's on my Apple Notes. It's on my phone.
Okay.
But the government of Canada in the summer released they have a committee study, big data, and the social credit score, the security consequences. It is a government document, a government study, where they talk about using that strategy as a way to bring in control of people's speech, control of our sharing of content, control of how we participate in the economy and commerce. And they talk about it at great lengths. They talk about how they optimize party state resources by synthesizing a vast amount of information and resources to force the vertical and horizontal integration of government entities, using economic development and urban management requirements as primary means to strengthen the state's role. So in other words, the government's going to have an involvement in every aspect of our life. And where are we now? We're at deployment of it.
Yeah. And after we review the next two pieces, I'll be able to tie this in with ArriveScan and the WEF in not one, but two ways. So you're absolutely right when you're talking about ArriveCan, and believe it or not, it is. I'm going to go out there on a limb, and you can look this up for yourself. I'm going to put it up on the screen after we're done looking at this. But first things first, you can check out ktdi.org. I've showed this to you before. I've actually had people were talking about social credit stores and digital ID and that sort of thing around me before, and I would post on Facebook, ktdi.org. It's a Canada, Netherlands, and World Economic Forum program that is all about digital identification. But in either case, here is Walletmore. Here's their website. Get your implant. I never thought I would see this before. When you see, like, wow, the wallet of tomorrow.
Oh boy.
Makes it easy and convenient. Get your Walletmore implant now. Only $229. World's first entirely... Don't you just love how they put that? That's a buzzword. World's first entirely safe implant. Do you want your world's first entirely safe implant, people? Which you can use for contactless payment at any time. Forget about cash card and smart pay solution. Since now you can pay directly with your hand. Get your Walletmore payment implant now and make a step into the new world order. What you should do after your purchase. Step 1, download the Pure Wrist app. That's crazy. Arrange the installation with a specialist. So we could look at a number of things. If you look at partners, so this is available in the UK and Europe. Look at all these places you can get it. Look at that.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm part of the Remnant Revival, and this is biblical. I'm sorry, this is just insane.
Yeah.
Like this is where we meet, where we have. I mean, one of your commenters here, Kim RS. We are the enemy evil. Yes, we are. We need to awaken a lot more of us. A lot more lions and lionesses need to be awakened to bring prides together, to make sure that we fulfill the biblical scripture and win this really awful war. Wow.
Yes. I'm not as sure about it. I have heard that argument. But I mean, I don't know what to tell you other than like
It's here.
It's starting to connect, and I'm like, I'm still not sure.
Okay, so you guys know who Noah Harari is, right?
I'm not sure.
Okay, Noah Harari is basically Klaus Schwab's right-hand man. He's Jewish.
Oh yes.
Okay,
Yes, I am
Jewish,
familiar
and
with
I say he's Jewish because the whole thing is around the false prophets, the Antichrist system. This guy is going around, and all of a sudden he's becoming very prominent and becoming sought after, and he's becoming more mainstream in the public eye. It's not by accident, but he's saying things. He is saying things like, "We don't need humans to do the labor. We don't need this. We don't need that." But the worst thing I've heard him say is, they can become like God. He says this. They can become like God, and because humans are hackable beings. They can hack into our DNA. They can hack into our system. He says they can tell what's going on under the skin and inside you, not just outside you. If that doesn't put chills up your spine, and believe me, I wish I was making this up. I wish I could, but I'll tell you right now, I don't care. I'll put it out there. Go on band.video and watch the Greg Reese report on it. There's a show about it. I think it was last Wednesday that they put it out, or Tuesday, where they go into great detail about who this guy is and what his purpose is. This is not accidental, and I know it sounds crazy, and it's, oh my God, if we don't know what our enemy is going to do, how can we prepare and how can we combat it? The only way we can do it is through information, through people understanding what's coming and being ready for it. And to say, no, that ain't happening here. We're not doing that. And not just like 25, 30. Like, when the restaurants, they didn't band together. The largest employer group in our country, one of the largest GDP economic pieces of our environment, our economy, didn't stand together and stand against the stupidity of stand up with a mask on, sit down, take your mask off and eat, walk around, plastic partitions that do diddly squat because you're not encapsulated, you're not in a capsule. The minute they didn't stand together and say, we're not jumping through these ridiculous hoops, this is not scientific, show me the science.
Yeah.
We need a watershed moment. And I don't know what it is, but if this isn't it, I don't know what is. This is it. This is the watershed moment.
Yes.
Sorry, it is.
Well, here's my thoughts, right? So I am of the Christian persuasion.
I'm gonna say to you, I've been a saved man for just shy of 2 years now.
Yeah. And well, for the show, for example, I try to remove myself of some bias, but in regards to the end of the world aspect, I'm always cautious with that because this is something that's been discussed and talked about for over 2,000 years, right? So when I say it, if I ever do say it, then I'm going to be really sure about it because
and I'm not saying it's the end. I'm just saying that this is a moment where
it's pretty close.
I'm a Gen Xer, okay?
Yeah.
I'm the guy that was born when all of the stuff that we use today, we actually got to pioneer it. Computers, video games. I used Atari. I used the Commodore 64. I'm one of those ones. I'm very fortunate to have gone through that cycle, right?
Yeah.
And what I mean by watershed moment is we're at that point where we saw the evil villain with the mustache. You can argue whether he was manufactured, planted, whatever, doesn't matter. The bottom line is we're at the same time in our history where we are now seeing some similarities, and you cannot argue or say that they're not similar because they obviously are. And we have that with the watershed moment. If people say, well, how could they just let that happen? Because they do it in a way they've got a doctrine. They're bought in. They buy into it. They know what they're doing. They study us. They've got studies on us. They know who we are. They know how we respond to different stimuli, to different things. They know how to speak to us in a way where they can almost put us in a hypnotic spell. They do it with precision.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to have, this is the time where you're either going to not let history happen again, but I argue that you think that was bad. This is way more magnified because this is global. This isn't isolated. This is global. This is going on in China. It's going on it's going on in Latin America. They've got the same signs, the same protocols. Why? Because the IMF, International Monetary Fund, are pulling the strings on the finances in those countries. And Bill Gates has flown around the world the last 2 years, making sure that everyone gets in line. It's not by accident.
No, there's so much here that well, the expression on the show is we don't believe in quinky dinks, and that is how I roll. I didn't get too much of a chance to research these individuals, but these are the people who own Walletmore.
Very interesting. Look how young these guys are. I wonder if they were young shapers or young global leaders.
I looked into it. The only thing that I was able to find thus far is that Amal Grafstra is been involved in this business a long time. Let's just take a look at what I was able to find so far. That founder of VivoKey and Dangerous Things, most respectable person in the smart implant space with 15 years of experience in designing and manufacturing implants. I don't want to state the obvious here, but that logo he's got going on there, that's pretty new world. That's pretty new world order, if you ask me. I looked this guy up. Now this other guy, this WatchTech Paprota guy, the CEO, I think he's the wallet behind this whole organization. This other guy, he's the development guy, the tech guy. He's already designed this. It's already full-fledged. This guy has, I think, 2 different implants in him already. He has a magnet implant in his fingers. And he has another different type of implant. But most interesting thing to note here about this fella is the World Economic Forum has already taken great interest in his tech. And I will bring that article up. Just give me a moment. There we go. Here we go. Wabam. And you're going to be knowledgeable about most of the stuff in this article. So, we have the World Economic Forum. They create this article, 5 human enhancements that can be commonplace by 2020. And our buddy there that we were just looking at, first off, this guy has a okay. I don't want to go into that, but
No.
our relationship with technology is constantly evolving as breakthroughs create opportunities that would have in the past been unimaginable. But what if technology could change what it means to be human?
Well, there we go. That's Noah Harvey's drug.
Mhm. Here's a snapshot of some of the developments and enhancements our bodies that could enhance our bodies and our lives. A team of engineers at the University of Wisconsin-Madison have developed the world's fastest stretchable, wearable, integrated circuits. I think you were talking.
The quantum dot tattoo.
Yeah.
There it is. There it is. Wow.
Yes. When did this article come out? I did not check. Oh, this came out in 2016. This takes wearable technology to a whole new level, adhering to the skin, much like a temporary tattoo. They offer a wealth of possibilities, especially medical. The high wireless speeds generated could see the smart skins used in intensive care units with nurses, then able to monitor your vital signs remotely. Built like a 3D puzzle, the technology falls within the 5G standard, potentially bringing an end to hospitals full of wires, cables, and clips. Microchip implants. And this is where our buddy comes into play. Here he is. Dangerous Things. Amal Gafastra. So he is implemented it here. His right hand contains a rewritable chip, which he can use to download information to and from his phone. The chip in his left hand contains simple identity number. This can be used to unlock doors or log into computers or now pay for stuff. And if you can pay for stuff with it, you can put your ID on it. If you can put your ID and pay for it, look, this is crazy. This is crazy. I don't know what more to really say. It goes all into the rest of the article goes into World Economic Forum and turning people into basically bionic humans because they love this stuff. This is the type of stuff the World Economic Forum is all about. I feel like that article tells us it's here.
Yeah.
Like we are here.
Yeah, and right above there, you got the explore the latest statistic trends, research, and analysis, and that's their map out of how they're gonna get us into the system. It's just this is where, like I said, it's a watershed moment. Like if we don't push back on this now, and we can't use cash or we can't use silver, gold, different types of currencies that we can trade with, and while we can trade with is information and what the good government says we're good at or good for, and Trudeau said something in one of his speeches that they can use he didn't call it that because he didn't want to lead us and put us into but what he was talking about was the notwithstanding clause. And what he was basically saying is they can actually use the majority, and if the majority of people want this, they can override the minority, which is us. Okay. Because I don't believe they're accurate, but let's say it's 80% of the world of Canada has taken at least 2 jabs. Who's in the minority? So they can say the majority want this, so we're going to go ahead with it. And you know what? Your rights don't matter. And he says that we can basically step on your rights using that clause. When I said we're no longer lawful, that's what I'm talking about. They are now using that loophole, by the way, wasn't meant for that. It was meant for when the 2/3 of the provinces couldn't come to an agreement, and 2/3 of the population, 1/3 of the population didn't agree. They couldn't come to an agreement. The government was allowed to use a notwithstanding clause to pass legislation and policies or economic things to make our country better. That's what that notwithstanding clause was for. They're
Yeah.
using it to pass things that they know no one in the right mind would ever agree with.
So I was talking to you a little bit about this before we got into the individual from the company Dangerous Things and etc. So you had stated that the Arrive Scan was like a recent program, but this program here, the KTDI program, is quite old actually, and we've already sunk millions of dollars into this. And I believe that the Arrive Scan program that you were just talking about, I believe it's connected to this. I think this is the answer.
Yeah.
Because in the last election, I was doing some research, and tucked away, like ever so quietly, was the Liberal government, Justin Trudeau, wanted to invest even more millions of dollars into the Known Traveler Digital ID program. And if you're not paying attention, it just goes right over your head. But look at what we got here. We got the World Economic Forum, Canada, the Netherlands, Schiphol, Toronto, KLM, Dutch Airlines.
Accenture. Wow.
This is what we're concerned about. I'm very concerned about this. I don't think that these individuals are looking out for your best interests. I don't think they care about you.
No.
This ID, whatever it is, this chip, what's the long-term side effects of it? I don't know. It says it has 5G capabilities.
Well, you want to see the pitfalls. I believe that these guys use the mediums of movies and television shows as a way to sort of they forecast and foreshadow what their intentions are and how they're going to do it, and they do it in a way where we think it's just art and it's just like a entertainment. But there's a show on Amazon, which of all places, right? Amazon.
Yeah, I know, right?
Okay, it's an Amazon program. It's called The Feed, and it's got some pretty good actors in it. It's actually a very interesting. But The Feed is all about we don't have phones anymore, and it's a chip that's implantable computer system that's implanted in you, and you can actually go, and they call it spraying, and so you can send a picture, you can take a picture of, you can have a conversation with somebody, you can actually virtually appear in a room through the technology. You want to see the consequences to what that could be like. You should watch that show, because what happens is there's a group of people like us, or the dissidents, that actually get lost in the system and don't take the feed and are fighting against it. It's a remarkable show, because it sort of has some, and same with like the Black Mirror. There's a lot of shows that talk about the consequences to allowing technology to have too much oversight and overreach in our lives.
Yes. And I believe the Twilight Zone used to perpetuate a lot of that too. I mean, I make movie references sometimes, and
yeah,
the ones I do, when I do it, it's usually about things that reflect in human nature. Like, for example, the hero's journey. That is representation of what we all go through when we go through struggles, and then we overcome them.
Yeah.
Except it could be exasperated into how many stories. But art portrays life,
yeah,
and vice versa. So I think, especially when you look at H.G. Wells, like they talk about The Man on the Moon, that book.
Yeah.
That was foreseen, that there would be travel to the moon way before an idea of man riding rockets getting there. It's the same thing with the stories that you're pointing out, that these are things that could be also brought into pass, and that just because they're a part of a movie or a story, it doesn't take away it's supposed to be thought-provoking in that way, and we are supposed to watch out for these things, but nobody ever notices them in the early stages. Like, if you were to go to 1931 Germany, there'd be no thought about sending your neighbors to an internment camp. That was not even conceived of at that point. But
no,
these things start off really slow and really small.
Yeah, and when you want to talk about just one more thing about that Feed show,
Yeah.
The where it gets really, really, really interesting is when the founder of the feed develops a technology where you no longer need to plant anything. It can be done through a DNA exchange of someone that has the upgraded feed technology. And he experimented on a bunch of people to get there. Like, I don't know about you, but there are some parallels with that right there, what we're seeing today, right? They're doing trials, right? They're, if anyone's not alarmed that 730 athletes have all collapsed with chest issues, heart issues, all in the prime of their lives, I don't know what's going to shock you. And then you look at the fact that they're going out and parading this around, that they're going to get rid of currency, cashless society. They're talking about a global currency, for crying out loud. One world new, they call it the World Government Summit, not even the New World Order Summit. It was, and they mentioned one of the people that were there that was speaking, keynote speaker said, "Is the world ready for a new world government?" I don't know about you, but I'm not ready. I don't want it.
No.
Thanks.
No, I'm not ready. I don't want it either. Well, here's the point of the show where we open the floor to all of you. So tell us what you think about the new injection or the new... Anybody here going to get the Walletmore upgrade, et cetera, et cetera? Very good guest today, Brennan. Cheers, guys. I like what I'm hearing. Oh, so definitely. Thank you for... I have to thank you again, Tom, for coming on. I really appreciate this, and I've enjoyed the discussions that we've had about everything. For people who have the Holy Spirit and accept Jesus as the master in their life, they have their own personal testimony to him, and nobody has a right to refute that truth. Amen.
Amen. Just on that note, I just wanted to say, when I talk about this stuff, I got to tell you, when this thing started, and I was in my apartment, right, which is like 400 square feet, 500 square feet, and I'm in this, and I went out and I got all the groceries. I made lots of soup. I made stuff that I could eat for a while. I'm doing that still. I'm doing that right now. Actually, I'm back on that kind of track. But I remember I got so upset because at that time I could find information so easy, and I was like, it was coming to me like it was not hard to find, and it wasn't hard for me to trace. I found out about the Annenberg Foundation. You should do a show on the Annenberg Foundation and how they use their media school at USC. They basically have trained almost all the people you see today. Wolfgang Blitzer, Anderson Cooper, who's at Vanderbilt, and on and on and on. The Annenberg family is never discussed or talked about. How did I find them? Because somebody brought up factcheck.org to me. And I went, are you going to be kidding me? These guys? You mean the ones that are founded by Obama Foundation's linked to, and Clinton, like all the foundations of all these evil characters are part of? You're telling me that they're the fact checkers, right? But I got mad at God. I'm like, why am I wasting my time with this? What do you want me to do with it? I can't make any money. I can't do anything with this stuff. I was getting frustrated. And then the call came for me to go to BC. I went to BC and I got connected with and it was not hard. It was easy. It was like there was divine appointments all over the place. I met Tanya Gott at the very beginning of Action for Canada. I was on their core committee. Then I was part of I hung out with the Resistance for a while. Then I met Vladimir. I met Marcella. Like all these people from the Hugs Over Mass group. Met all of them. And then all of a sudden I met Ted Koontz. I can call Ted Koontz from Vaccine Choice Canada, and he'll talk to me. I didn't know who these guys were until I went out there. And now I know now when I'm here, why I went through all of this and why I left my family for a year on a calling. I just knew I had to go, and I went. And what happened? I now meet guys like you. I want to be embedded, and I want to be around people that are like me, that have all this stuff, that have spent all this time. My wife says, man, you spend hours. What are you doing this for? You need to, but she gets upset with me. She's like, you need to start recording it, and you need to start putting it into something you can package. And that's why I love being on these programs, because it gives me a chance to see, hey, am I right? Am I on the right path? Have I done this right? And I'm thankful. I'm very thankful and grateful that I'm on the show today. Thank you.
I gotta say that that's who I like to connect with is people who like to go, am I on the right path here? Am I getting this right? Is there anything I could change about this? And that is way more real than what you'll get with watching CNN or whatever else. Like these when these people get things wrong, they're unapologetic and horrendous about it. But here we are. Like we are real.
I look
We're
forward
real
to
people.
the day. I say this. I said this when I spoke with Sarnia a couple weeks ago, and I said I look forward to the day where Maverick Media is smeared, and I'm smeared. And I mean, believe me, they can smear me all they want. There's lots out there for them to dig into. They can have at her. I'm an open book, and I repented for all of my sins, and I'll keep repenting till the day I die, because I am not a perfect individual. I am flawed, and I have my own what they call defects of character. But my heart's always in the right place, and I admit when I'm wrong. And I look forward to those days when we're all called those things, because I'll tell you, when they start calling us those things, as Alex Jones says, you're over the target.
Yes, that's how you know you're doing the right thing. You pissed the right people off.
Yeah.
Dusty Bone says, I am not going to get it. I'm assuming truth resonates.
Yes.
Absolutely not. We'll all be living in China.
Yes.
German people in WW2 were scheduled by Hitler's speeches, seduced by Hitler. Yes, they were. They were seduced by. They were seduced by a lot of things. They were not only that. I mean, they were seduced by the idea of, if we just go after this small segment of the population that is causing all this misery for us, if we just go after them and get rid of them, then everything is going to be much better and okay.
Yeah.
Mass formation psychosis.
1.0. That's happening today.
Yes.
It's happening all over again. Trump derangement syndrome was a real thing.
Yes, and it still is.
Yeah.
That was Twitter. That was trending on Twitter because I was this afternoon after we had done the Monday show.
He is deliberately haunting the woke left.
Yes.
But the guy that watches Steve Bannon, that guy has got something really special. He's super smart. But for Canadian guys, and I like to plug other people, because you and I can all learn from everyone. If you haven't watched any of them, Amazing Polly on Rumble, she was on YouTube and had a big following and decided to opt. She just left YouTube, said, whatever, I'm out. And if you watch her, she does a really good deep dive in a few different segments on the World Economic Forum, the Young Shapers, the Young Global Leaders, and really gives you an idea, and does also the Pure Bright Institute, the Pure Bright Institute. Boy, oh boy, you want to dig into the V plus well. She's got a pretty good deep dive there.
That's incredible. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Yes, Thomas told that here last Thursday about Summit.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe somebody who watches you already?
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
My husband, Thomas.
That's my wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why, hello.
Thank you,
Mrs.
Janet.
Fisher.
Love you.
My husband,
Yeah,
Thomas,
she's
is very passionate.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
okay.
It's our platform, right? And she's the one that actually is behind our website. She's a brilliant woman who could develop. She's developing our platform, and she does a lot of that stuff that I'm not producer like. I wish I had that skill like you do. I'm not. That's not my forte. I can get in front of a mic. I can get in front of a group of people. I'm very comfortable that way. I can recall information easily, quickly, but I just that production side. I don't have the patience for it.
Well, it's usually Rick Walker who does it. That's why the GIF for tonight's show just absolutely sucks. Because that's a Rick Walker skill, or the thumbnail. The thumbnail for tonight's show absolutely sucks. It's a Rick Walker skill. He's the producer. He's the graphics guy. He does the videos and stuff. But yeah, he's absolutely phenomenal at what he does.
But Janet doesn't know this yet, but she's going to be doing a segment on our platform. It's going to be called Mighty J on the street, and she's going to be doing some on the street documentation of some of the lunacy and idiocy that's out there, and dispelling the myths and the narratives one by one. A much better. She'll do as good a job, if not better, than Mark Dice.
That's awesome. I love those people on the street videos. The host Rick Walker on No Mask Day, when the mask mandate went.
Yeah.
Well, the mandate didn't go, but the policy
Yes.
did. He went out on the street and he was talking to people. There were some very interesting reactions. There were some people who were like, "Oh, I just didn't know."
Yeah.
And the government is pulling this off because they got us to whistleblow on each other. People squealed on each other for having Christmas guests when they were supposed to be at home alone. Absolutely. Oh, it looks like you have a story to tell.
I did a live video, live on Facebook, and I was at a superstore in Niagara. It's actually, yeah, it was a superstore, and I'm checking out, and this is before the mask mandates were lifted. They were still there, and on this, there's a customer services right by my checkout counter. Mm-hmm. I look at the wall, and it's a sign, and it says, if you see anyone not wearing a mask, please alert the authorities. This wasn't a Ontario sign gun. This was a sign made by Loblaws. Now think about that. I looked at the counter. I looked at the poor young thing behind the counter. I feel bad for her, but I looked at her like, can you explain what that means to me? She goes, I go, am I going to go to my car? Is there going to be someone going to call the police because I didn't wear a mask today? Are you going to call the police? She didn't know what to say. And I looked at the customer service. I said it loud enough so they could hear me. And I did a video and I said, this is not going to happen. I said, I dare you. I dare anyone watching this that's been at Loblaws today to call the police. Like, that's what they did. That's what they're doing. They're making us believe it's okay to go out and rat on and report on people living their lives. On people just living their lives.
All this has done is empowered Karens, and I was very concerned with the amount of people who are using, whether it be the CERB snitch line or even the COVID snitch line in your local neighborhood. I don't care for any of that. There's a crime happening. You call the non-emergency line at your police station, or you call 911 for a direct emergency.
Exactly.
You don't need all these stupid snitch lines. Don't be a snitch.
Nope. And
Nobody likes
that big army of white coats, they may be coming to a place near you. Do you really think that you want a public health officer to become a police enforcement agent? Right?
Yeah. Well,
wow.
that's how these things start, right? So you enable all this garbage to happen. What's to stop it from happening to the other person? Maybe there's a snitch that sees the delivery guy go to your house, and he thinks it's like your grandma coming over to catch a virus, and he snitches on you, and then you get subjected to the wrong end of the law.
Yeah, and do you remember the beginning of the mandates when we weren't allowed to gather, and a young couple family on a birthday of their mom and dad delivered a cake to the house of their parents, dropped it off, and they got a citation for, I think it was $780. This was in Ontario.
Yes, I remember that.
Who? I think anyone out there is watching this. If anyone think that that's right or that's normal behavior, please let me know. Because that just, to me, is like wrong. Wrong.
It's not normal behavior. It absolutely sucks. The whole cabal needs to be taken down. People need to wake the heck up. Absolutely, Sue. You are 100% correct. People do need to wake up. And I think that we're kind of on the Great Awakening here.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had several call-in shows that are kind of to my point on that.
And if you're watching the elections and you're watching, we need to tell the PPC, the Conservative, anyone that's not with the new coalition government, we need to tell them all that they are to not disallow any independent media. So if Brendan decides he wants to take his microphone, not TV, when Carl Cardinal or Odessa Horowitz decide to go out there for Liberty Talks, decide to go out there and Rebel News, Sheila Gunn Reid, Candace Malcolm, Andrew Lawton, Kian Bexley, all these different independent journalists, if they show up at your politicians' events, at one of your campaign fundraisers, you better not kick them out and you better not stop them from coming in. Because that's what happened in the last 2 elections. And I cannot believe that the conservatives who fund the conservatives allowed that garbage and nonsense to happen. That needs to stop. You're not going to ever get a fair shake in media if you're on the wrong side of the left.
Yes.
They will not give. Are you kidding me, Derek Sloan? You think they're going to give that a proper coverage? They're not going to give it proper coverage.
Well, I would say that Rebel was treated worse in the last federal election than Maxime Bernier, in the sense that when Rebel did, just by the hair of their chin, were allowed to go to the national debate, when they asked questions,
Nobody answered them.
They just outright said, your organization is garbage, we don't like you, and you're brainwashing Canadians with mis and disinformation.
And they called them names, right? They labeled them with those epithets, right? Like,
the mis and dis.
Yeah.
Everybody knows the mis and dis. Mis and disinformation. Misinformation and disinformation.
So I'm telling everyone out there, anywhere where there's an election happening, for any provincial election, any federal election, any municipal election for that matter, anyone that's running for these things that is not part of the red or the orange or the green, right, need to be told, you need to embrace the independent media, because that's where your audience lies, and we're watching you. We're watching how you interact with us.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That the independent media needs a lot more respect. I think they really want it to go away, but I've always said that it's hard to hold freedom together. Like look at the example we shared from tonight from Shanghai. It's very difficult to hold people from freedom. It's like holding a bar of wet soap. It's just going to slip out of your hands.
Yeah. And when there's 3 million people, like, I don't know if you've ever been to Ottawa, but like if you go from Wellington down by the Parliament and you go all the way to the block, the square blocks of where the government buildings are, and you go all the way out, and if you can get that 3+ million to go all the way out to where the highway is, that's a whole different ball game. And I'm not talking about violence. I'm just talking about people. Unless they openly attack with weapons weapons, right? Where they bomb or they shoot or they use armored gear, tanks or police cars, they can't contain that many people. And they will need to have a discussion about what it is we want as Canadians. Because I know right now there's at least 40% of our population is getting along and going along because they just think it's going to end by that. And there's now, I believe that the tables have turned. I believe the pendulum is swinging past 50%, where where Canadians have just had enough.
Yeah.
Enough.
I believe so too.
Yeah.
And I believe that's we'll see what the politicians do this weekend, because this weekend is a turning point weekend historically. It always was. So we'll have to wait and see. This individual says, no, my wallet is in my purse.
It's in my front pocket.
I keep mine in my back pocket. I'm one of those people who sits awkwardly on their wallet. A bit of fun Brendan trivia. I've had the same wallet for like 10 years.
Man. That's awesome. Not me.
Good info tonight. Thanks, guys. Well, thank you for watching. Do appreciate that.
Yeah.
Does Mr. Fisher do speaking tours?
All the time. I'm actually I'm open for that anywhere, anytime. Right now I got to travel by car, so it's got to be within 6 hours of where I live in Niagara. But I'm willing to, and if I can cover my expenses for doing that, that's great. But at the end of the day, I'll do it. I just want to talk. I want people to awaken, man. I want people to start understanding that this is only over if we say it's over.
Mm-hmm.
They can call us all they want, useless eaters, which by the way, if they say, I hear the word useless eaters, and that, I look at that and this equivalent to, we're peasants. We're the commoners. It's the same verbiage, same connotations. We can do it, man. We can stand up. We can do more collectively together. And you know what? We're not going to agree on every point, but we got to pick our 5 or 6 points, and we got to stand firm on them, because I can guarantee you that anyone that is on the left of center, I don't like these terms, but let's just say libertarian versus and conservative, in that range, all of us that are in that ilk, right? Entrepreneurs, especially, most fall in that line.
Yeah.
We have massive amounts of people. We are a very strong part of what can happen. But if we're not unified and we're divided in ourselves, which is what they do tirelessly, we don't stand a chance. But unity, Psalm 133, just in the Bible, talks about unity and being together as brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Unify and push back. Now, I'm not going to use the word peacefully. I'm going to use the words without any criminal intent, actions. Everything's got to be on the legal side. And from a standpoint of, we the people say no, and we are not. If you want to go out there and attack us and murder us and slaughter us, that's on you, because that will come back to you. But I can tell you, I am willing to do that. I will do that. I will not acquiesce to this nonsense, because at the end of the day, I'm a sovereign being. I have the right to choose what I want in my body, for my life, for my career. I make my choices. I take the consequences for them. Sometimes I get it right and I do well. Sometimes I don't. I go, oh, shouldn't have done that. Won't do that again. But at the end of the day, I made them. I choose, and that's how it has to be for all of us. You know what? You want to take that injection? That's your choice. Okay, go ahead. I don't have any problem. I'm not anti anything. I'm pro. You cannot solve problems with negative. We can't silence anyone. That's negative. We don't want to silence anyone. We just want to make sure that we're being heard as well. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, you touched on something about coming together, and I wish I would have interjected this afternoon and talked about this. So there is a Conservative Party candidate who goes by the name of Joseph Bourgault, and we've had him on the show here previously. He's very, very fascinating guy to listen to. And he said, well, you know, the left wing and the right wing are the same bird, and the bird is Canada. And at the end of the day, that is where I lie with all this, is that I think a lot of the left is lost, and there's a lot of misconstrued stuff there. But at the end of the day, I think there's so much that we agree on that it's ridiculous that we let so many little things divide us, that we gotta come together.
Ask yourselves why the Liberals left the centrist lane. They just left it. They abandoned it. Right? Why?
They murdered
it. Because the Liberals are no longer the Liberals of old, right? They've sold out, and they've made their deal with, and they believe they want to follow the WEF. Let's talk about WEF. WEF is Paris Accord, was at Davos. Who runs the Davos summit? Where all these famous and wealthy people fly in on their jets, by the hundreds of them, and they all hobnod and drink scotch and all just plan our futures for us. I don't know. Have you been invited to can we go to are we allowed to get in the plane and go to the World Economic Forum and show up and say, we're here to represent ourselves?
No.
Why not?
Because you need a Fauci out chief to go for a plane ride.
Or we need to be we're not part of the club.
Yeah.
Right? We're not part of that club.
No, I was very concerned when they decided, like, oh, certain people aren't going to be allowed to travel. It's like, oh, great, here we go. This is how it starts. And I was like, I'm not playing this game with them. We've already surrendered enough. we're not surrendering anything else. Sylvia says, "Thank you, Tom. Awesome info. Thank you, Sylvia, for watching. Thank you." Hunger Games, Darwin's Theory, Survival of the Fittest. Well, no upgrade for me. That's
neither.
awesome.
I like who I am. I'm fine. I'm gonna get old. I'm gonna get bald. I'm gonna get gray. I'm gonna get a pot belly. It's all good, man.
Yeah.
It's all good.
That's why at Joe, I'm in the middle of a conversation. So my blood is so pure. He has been and will be doing more. There you go. Yeah. So that's for you, Tom. So you have been doing speaking, and you will be doing more. I've seen a little bit about what you do at Sarnia City Hall there on some Saturdays. So
Yeah. Well, Janice had the unfortunate because she wears the mask to protect me, even though she shouldn't. And she's watched me have to endure a lot of really nasty stuff. Like it's abusive what I've gone through. Just by me standing and trying to talk rationally to people that are making decisions, like to owners of businesses saying like, is this what you really want to do? Like I'm literally going to walk to a table, sit down and everyone's not wearing a mask. Like you're going to literally kick me out because I won't conform. Why? Well, I can't get a fine. You're not going to, there's nobody waiting. There's no boogeyman waiting on the corner here. Like, because how could they tell if I wore a mask or not when I come in? They're going to ask to see your video footage. But even when you talk sense to them, they're just, fear is such a grappling thing for people. And it's just harmed us beyond repair. And the fear that's where we need to step out of fear into faith. And by the only way you can have faith is through knowledge. Mm-hmm. Is through getting knowledge of connecting with spirit and understanding that nothing bad's going to happen to you if you don't conform to what they want. Only bad things happen. Like what's going to happen in China. Good people are going to start doing bad things because they want to survive. Survival is an instinct that's innate in us. It's an inalienable right. We have inalienable rights. That's one of them. We have a right to do as we see fit to survive as long as it's lawful and not harming anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm a huge proponent of less government in our lives, and that we saw in China what too much government involvement in your life will do to you.
Yeah.
I could not imagine being driven so mad that I would jump off of a balcony. But we all know how fragile the human spirit is. And there's only so much you could endure for so long. And I'm sure there was other consequences that led to them deciding to do that. I don't think it would have been willy-nilly. Let's go do it. Johnny's Vibe makes a nice comment here. This is brainwashing, but the point is they want emergency act powers at their disposal permanently.
Bingo.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll find any way they can to make it happen.
Yes.
And they will lie. They will lie and they will fabricate. Let's talk about where did all these numbers come from? Dr. Birx. Where did Dr. Birx go? Does anyone know where Dr. Birx went? I watched every Trump press conference every day at the start of it in March 16th, 2020. And Dr. Birx in late April, early May said, yes, we're lumping every death into that column because we just don't want to. We don't have the manpower, the ability to separate them. We're lumping them all in there, and then we're going to sort it out later. So in other words, we're going to fabricate the numbers. We're going to fabricate the infection rate, fabricate the death rate to create hyperbole, to create pandemonium. And then once it's all said and done and we've done all the things we need to do, then we're going to come back and we're going to correct it, which is exactly what they did. And what happened? Nobody covered it.
Yeah.
Nobody knew. You talk to people with that, they still believe that 1 million plus people have died. It's like, no, they haven't. The numbers have been corrected. Go look it up. It's there.
So, with that being said, we're kind of at the end of our rope here. Tristan wrote something interesting here. Truckers ride free, my friends and families. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on about. But in either case, As it's my show, I will leave the floor for you for any last comments, Tom. And if you want to plug your stuff in again, how people can
Sure.
find you,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
I thank you very much for listening to me. I know it's been these can go on. We can go on and on and on. My name is Thomas Fisher. I'm with the Fisher Files. Our platform is thefisherfiles.com. I'm at the Fisher Files on Twitter. We have a Rumble channel, the Fisher Files, a YouTube channel, the Fisher Files, which we're just in the process of launching it. The Fisher Files YouTube channel has a couple of videos from my old days. They're my very beginning stages of it. I'm looking forward to more speaking engagements, and we're looking forward to putting content on our platform just like you're doing. And we're doing it with a bit more fun. We're going to be going to the convoy in Ottawa to do some coverage there.
Rolling Thunder?
Pardon me?
The Rolling Thunder?
Rolling Thunder. And the reason we're going there is, and this is the other thing. I'll leave you with this. We have cell phones with cameras. Every one of us possesses a recording device on us, unless you're like someone that is really hardcore and doesn't believe in using smartphones, which there's a lot more of those people coming forward too. But if you got that phone, document everything. I mean everything. When you go to a store and you don't think you're being treated right, record it. You're allowed to record it. Record any adverse event that they're going to try and put you in a box, like they did in the convoy, where they tried to take a guy and say, "Look at this guy. He's really angry. He's what's wrong with society." Meanwhile, if you watch the whole interview, he's provoked by the CBC reporter. The CBC reporter deliberately calls them names and provokes them. When you record that stuff, they can't form the narratives. That's what happened in Ottawa. There was too many people that recorded. Like, if you don't know who Jerome O'Sullivan is and who the Not TV guys are, and the Bridgewater News, Bridge City News, those guys are all there. They covered it, and they covered it unfiltered, and they couldn't take it away. That's what we need to do. Continue. And Jeff McCoy was there. Jeff McCoy did a great thing there. He covered people. He got Chris Deering before the week before Chris Deering actually got trampled on. He's the vet that got trampled on in Ottawa that they saw, that had the bad back that got blown up in Afghanistan. And we had him on our panel a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right. And this is what happened when you film that stuff. Now the government it has to be very careful about what they do and how they behave. And so do the police.
Yes, absolutely.
Kyle Cardinal recorded the whole thing in our iconic cafe. If you don't know who Kyle Cardinal is, that is one guy that knows the way the law works in this country, inside and out. And he does stuff for Not TV and Liberty Talks. He's a freelance, like you and me, a freelance journalist. He was sitting at the iconic cafe having a snack and a coffee and it was closed that day. It was a Sunday. And he filmed all the cops surrounding that place and trying to break in and threatening to break the doors. He filmed the whole, and I shared it on my Facebook live, the whole thing. We all need to do that. The more of us that just, if you don't know how to do it, it's easy. You see something you're watching, go on, share it on your Facebook. It could go on your own live. I did the whole thing. It was awesome.
Yeah. And now I've seen that footage too out of the iconic cafe, and man, my heart goes out to those people.
If you can't see thuggery, I'm sorry, but if you wear the blue and you think that that's okay, because that guy stayed open and that guy actually spoke out against the city of Ottawa's police chief, spoke out against the measures and actually said, and then what do? They kicked him out of his place because they said he's behind on rent. Newsflash, anyone that owns a business in a big high-rise building or in the downtown core of any major city has a problem paying their rent right now, especially if you're a service and you're serving food.
Yeah. Big time. And you're right. Thank God that there's people there to capture it. And definitely, if you ever see anything that you're concerned about, use your instincts, people. Like if something gives you like an uneasy feeling in your stomach, you need to make sure that, it's more than likely something is wrong there. So yeah, make sure you check out Mr. Fisher. He has some very, very excellent content, and I do enjoy his conversations. You also do a Monday thing every week.
Mondays. Yeah, we have we put it out on our Facebook channels and our YouTube channels, and it's basically a round table of panelists. So there's myself, I do the guy that if they have a topic, I try and bring some of my insight in terms of what I've understood, what I've read, or what I've covered. And then we have Jeff McCoy, who's a Velocity Phantom. He's a photographer, an editor, an incredible skilled guy with that stuff, and has gone to Ottawa and is doing live on the street journalism. Brando on the Go, Brandon McCaskill, another guy that's got a great following, 13.1 YouTube followers, just does a great job of just talking about issues in a way where it's just a discussion. And he's so patient with people that I would have no patience for.
That was my thing with him. He just comes off as so gentle. He's just like,
and he wants what we want. He wants to uncover truth and dispel. And this word's a very important word. He wants to dispel, like we do. Dispel, take the spell away, the narratives, right? And then Brooke Day, he's from Taiwan, big successful entrepreneur, owns a fitness platform, very astute political analyst, and he also understands the political forum a lot more than maybe most of us in terms of how to work within the political system to actually change it from within. And that's his. He's a brilliant man.
At Tom Fisher, that cafe owner said he was almost broke till the truckers came. Yes, that's
exactly.
Right.
And he paid paid 3 months outstanding rent, and they still kicked him out. And that's what the tyranny is. They kicked him out of a place that he's been there for years because they put pressure on the landlord to kick him out. And by the way, CFIB, Canadian Federation of Independent Business, where are you? Where are you in this stuff? Where you been? You have 95,000 followers. You have 95,000 members, 95,000 paying members. $350 a shot, $350 a shot per business owner or more. You have millions in your war chest. Where are you?
I'll tell you exactly where they are. They are with all the chambers of commerces around Canada that hosted debates and events and wanted to exclude people from political conversation.
In the latest budget, they just rolled over. They rolled over. And if any business owners out there belong to that organization or any organization like that, take your money and put it into this guy. Put it into this guy. Put it into people that are actually going to go out and do something for you, because those guys are doing nothing. They actually promoted. They were on the train of promoting. We got to get the 70% vaccination rate, okay, to open the country back up. Okay, Mr. Kelly, how'd that work out for you? How'd that work out for you? Are we back to normal yet? No, we're not. And now we're trying to jab kids. Do kids spend money at the businesses? I don't think so. I digress.
No. But anyway, with that being said, I really appreciate you coming out tonight, Tom, and I really appreciate all of you for coming out and listening to our chat. And I'm very sorry I missed out last night, but I'm very happy to be back tonight. I will be back tomorrow night. I swear, even if I have to host the show alone, I will do that with you guys. But so I'll line up some content. We'll have some fun. We'll have some discussions, and we'll kind of go from there. But in either case, if you are able to support us, please go to freedomreporters.com if you can. And if not, give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Brendan. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.